All right, guys, welcome back. So, hopefully you listened to our last episode. If you didn't, I have a new co-host here. Yeah, hopefully it's going to continue being that way. So we're back today. We're just going to kind of bullshit and see where the conversation takes us. You guys have listened to me talk, I'm assuming. If not, well, welcome to the podcast. But if you have been listening, you know I tend to ramble and I can fucking go on for a while on random shit. So that's what we're going to do. Anyways, the new guy here. So something I did want to ask is, I like to ask, typically I ask this when I have guests on, but since you're going to be the new co-host, I guess we can title this episode, Get to Know the Co-Host, or, you know, New Ramblings or something. But what brought you into the Navy?
So, from the little bit of listening I have done of your podcast, kind of close to the same as you. I didn't really care for school. Mm-hmm. I had no clue what I wanted to do. And basically my options is I could stay in the small town that I grew up in and take over my dad's business, or I could join the military, because I knew I didn't want to go to college. So therefore, I guess you could say I was limited in certain jobs. And I just didn't really have a big want to go to college. So my dad was like, if you don't want to go to college, you better join the military. And so I looked into that and he said, well, if you do, you know, he did a lot of research on the military before I joined. So he said, well, I know this about it. So if you want to go to college later, they'll pay for it. Things like that. So I started, I think it was like the day, I was already decked in, but it was like the day before we went to MEPS. I remember hopping on the computer because I'm kind of a procrastinator as well. And I'm like, I have no idea what job I want to pick. Yeah. So I literally pulled up the computer, looked at everything, and he had one friend that was, I think, a CMC that was getting ready to retire. He talked to him a little bit. He talked to some other people, and they had thrown out some jobs that they thought I'd be good at or interested in. And so I took those and looked them up and said, yep, I'm going to pick one of these. And I kind of had like my first, second, third choice of, you know, rate or job. And I went to MEPS, and MA was available, and GM was there. There was a couple others, and I kind of rambled in my head real quick, and I said, if MA is there, go ahead and sign me up for that. And she's like, you sure you want to pick MA? I said, yep. And I was watching on the screen, like, rates disappear as, like, other people were picking them at other MEPS locations. No. And I was like, hurry up and pick MA before the thing goes away. And so she clicked on it and said, yep, okay, you got it. That's your job. And finished up there and walked out. Came back to the house, or my dad picked me back up. I said, yeah, I got MA. And went on from there.
Well, how long have you been in? That was something that we didn't talk about whenever you initially introduced yourself.
I've been in 9 years now.
9 years. Ooh, well, what's your plan? I know a lot of people. I think we had one guy one night. He was talking about he's ready to get the hell out. What do you think you're gonna do?
If I stay in, I wanna become an LDO. So.
Oh, but you're not gonna be a chief?
No. No. That's kind of funny. It clicked in my head that you were probably gonna say that. No. That used to be a really big goal of mine. I wanted to be a chief. I want to be a part of the chief's mess. I can't speak for other rates, but as far as the Master at Arm rating goes, I have no desire to be linked in with with that. People already have a bad enough habit of saying y'all or, you people. And I feel like a lot of chiefs in our rate has been exposed of certain things. And a lot of the E6 and below have started grouping that group of people together. And I don't have any desire to fight that that tag or that staple, if you will.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good info. As far as like making chief, man. So like my big plan was always to make LDO, but I've been in too long now that there's no way I'm going to do it. I think you have to be. I think the minimum or the most they want you to have in is 14. So I don't have the time to be able to do it. I mean, I would love to put on chief just solely so I could put on warrant officer. So my plan was always to put on chief and then put on warrant. But then they took warrant officer away for a couple years there. And then, finally some people were like, well, hold the fuck up. And they brought it back.
Yeah.
So I would love to do that. I would love to be a warrant officer.
Well, if I make chief before I am able to pick up LDO, that's what I'll do, is I'll switch over to the warrant officer side.
Yeah.
The only difference is I was solely focused on just warrant officer, but then I looked at the pay scale as far as retirement goes for warrant versus LDO, and the LDO retirement's a little bit better.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So that's the only thing that made me change my mind on that. I still would like, to me, saying you're a warrant officer is cooler than saying.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I don't know about you, but like I knew a bunch of Navy people before I came in, and like they would tell me stories, and they would talk about how you see a warrant officer and you do not fuck with a warrant officer, because a warrant officer, they were a chief, but now they're technically an officer, so they're like in between. They're not, like full officers. So they can go in the officers mess, but they were a chief, so they can go in the chief's mess. And so like they are salty dudes where like it doesn't matter who you are, you don't come at them sideways. They will fuck you up whether you're E1 or a fucking 05. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's. I still may go that route. I got to see how it plays out, but I'm gonna shoot for LDO so I don't lose out on that opportunity.
100%.
But if that for whatever reason doesn't work out, and even if I have time to still continue to put in an LDO package, if I do make chief, I'll just swap over to warrant still.
Yeah, and I mean, like you can always, as soon as you pick up first, you can put in for LDO, and if you don't get it, and then eventually, like you can keep applying for it, and if you never get it and you pick up chief, then you just start applying for CWO. Not to. I mean, even if you're a chief, you could still apply for LDO. But like,
I'm just saying that once I reach chief, even if I have time to apply for LDO, I'll probably cut that side of it and just focus on being a warrant.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
Oh, here's something to talk about. Did you see this shit about the retired Navy chief charged over fraudulent scheme targeting sailors?
No.
So I don't remember the full story, but I'll just bring it up here. It was on the Navy Times. So this guy, he took nearly $355,000 in investments from dozens of sailors, reservists, and veterans who were part of a chief Facebook group, and spent nearly half the money on gambling and personal expenses, the agency said.
I actually did hear about that, but I think I heard about it before the story came out. Is it an older story?
Hold on, I'll tell you. I think it just came out. So, that was just a picture. So it just came out on July 28th.
Yeah, so I did hear about that before it came out. I don't remember who, but somebody had told me about it. Have you talked about the whole like prostitution ring Bahrain thing on your podcast yet?
I was actually there when that shit went down.
That was the wildest story.
God. Were you there?
Nope. No, I wasn't. But I got, I guess, some quicker insight because some MAs were involved, but not in the scenario. Well, I don't know if there was MAs involved in the scenario, but when I say MAs were involved, they were flying people back to the States from Bahrain.
Yeah.
So I got some quicker insight because some of the people, I guess, were okay with disclosing certain things to them, and word just got back through reliable sources. So no, I wasn't there, but before they really started getting into it and holding like the punishments and everything, a lot of us had some insight already.
Yeah. So
how was it being there?
Well, the only reason that I knew about it is they did like an all hands call with, I think, was it the admiral that came out? I think it was the admiral that came out when he did an all hands call, and so they were talking about it. None of us really knew what the fuck was going on, and so they started talking about it, and apparently it was. I can't remember if in the all hands they told us it was all Chiefs, but later we did eventually find out it was mostly Chiefs, and so. From what we understood happened, it was a bunch of Chiefs that had these women living in their fucking flats, and they had taken their passports, and yeah, I mean they had a full blown prostitution ring going on. They were like live-in maids that was taking care of their needs, but also prostituting them out.
Well, so yeah, I heard a similar thing, but what I was told was it was this group of Chiefs. They figured out that they were each allotted to get like a certain size flat. You know, like the higher pay grade you are, you get more. Basically rent money. Yeah. So they were like, well, we can get like a 4 or 5 bedroom flat.
Yeah.
And we'll each get one. We'll live in one, have our own bedrooms, and we'll basically stack the other flats with all their prostitutes. So they shared one.
Okay.
They had 3 or 4 other flats.
Yeah.
4 or 5 bedrooms each, to like house these girls in. But the living conditions were still better than like the other flats that they, like civilians house prostitutes in Bahrain. So the living conditions were better. That's why they attracted so many.
Yeah.
But where they really screwed up was it got so big and got so busy, and these Chiefs either got lazy or whatever the case was, and they were having their seamen go pick these girls up from the airport.
Oh, shit.
And take their passports.
Oh, shit.
So the seamen got tired. The E3 below got tired of picking up all these girls and running them everywhere, that eventually people started talking or complaining about it, and then it come out that these chiefs and junior officers had this massive prostitution ring going on in Bahrain. And yeah, they were taking their passports, and they were having them work for like a ridiculous amount of money before they got them back.
I had I knew that like about the passports and things like that, but I had no idea that they had the seamen actually going out.
Yeah, they had their junior sailors.
That is insane,
them up
man.
At the airport. In duty vans, like government vans.
Oh, bro, I wonder whatever happened to those guys. I didn't really dig too far into it. I just heard it and I was like, wow, how fucking dumb do you have to be?
Well, it was big enough, unless I'm misspeaking, it was big enough for that captain to shoot himself in his office. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember. I remember the admiral out there hung himself. I don't know about it in his office.
I may be misspeaking. No, there was somebody, either a captain or an admiral. Like his detail was outside the office.
Yeah,
I think they were inside, and he was like, "Oh, I got this important call or whatever coming through. You know, can you step out or whatever?" And then, wow, I just heard the.
Damn, can you imagine being there for that?
But yeah, his like protective, enlisted protective service was right outside the door, and nobody really knows. He didn't write like a note or anything, supposedly. So nobody really knows, but people speculated that he was afraid that he was going to get fired or have to answer for this, even though he may or may not have been involved. So he just went ahead and dispatched himself right there in the office. Again, if I could be wrong, but some of this never really came out, but some people that were in the know and knew people in personal protection and people that were flying people back kind of told this story.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that in a long time, man. I just remember being there and like being like, "What the fuck is going on? Why is everybody here?" Because they had the whole command out on the pier, and I had no idea what was going on.
Well, they were talking about it until they figured out how big it was, and then that's when they kind of hushed everything because it was so huge.
Yeah. That's a big problem is that the Navy's not fucking transparent with their shit.
No, it's not, but it's hard to tell the entire world and civilian populace that, let's just say in, I guess, big spectrum, like all of your khakis in Bahrain are guilty of this. Let's just say, there's to me, the things they should be transparent about, they're not. And then the things they shouldn't be, they are at first. And then they're like, well, this is way too big. We can't be putting we can't say any more about this.
Yeah. Yeah. What gets me though is like, how dumb do you have to be like, hey, fucking YNSN, go pick this person up from the airport. When you do, go ahead and
snatch that passport.
Yeah, get that passport from me.
What?
Putting that fucking training we have to do every year to use. But like, how long do you go before it clicks that like, oh, I'm doing some fuck shit? I wonder if they were paying them.
Well, that's what. And see, I have no like means of backing this up, but that was another thing that I heard of why they turned on them basically, because they wasn't paying them.
Yeah.
Now I don't have any fact to or evidence to back that up, obviously, but that was another thing I was told is like, since these E3 or E4 and below had duty vans, they were just saying, "Hey, go pick this person up," and they wasn't throwing them a cut.
Yeah.
Of anything. But I've heard speculation of how much money they people think they were making, and it's ridiculous like how big it got that I could see maybe why they didn't stop.
Yeah.
Again, not agreeing with it, but I could see how addicting that would be.
Yeah. I mean, I had a buddy that opened a shop out there in Bahrain, and I mean, obviously this doesn't connect with prostitution, but I mean, I'm just saying like in general, like when he started making money out there, like he was making money, so much fucking money. And I was like, what the fuck? So like, I can only imagine how much money these chiefs were making with these girls, because everybody wants sex. And so like the Saudis come over from Saudi Arabia, and they go wild in Bahrain because they believe like Allah can't see Bahrain or some bullshit. So they get over there and they go nuts. So like,
but the worst part is like sometimes they're not even like paying these girls.
Well, no, of course not. I mean, that's
the bad. Well, but everybody thinks like how American prostitution works.
Yeah,
like they're not even. But the thing is, these women are coming from like Thailand or wherever, where they're, sleeping on a makeshift bed or a dirt floor, and you give them a marble floor flat.
Yeah,
they're almost they're in a way, as bad as it sounds, they're almost okay with not getting paid because you're paying for their needs. Like you're paying to feed them, you're paying to house them.
They're in a much better living condition. They're not. They're not.
And they're okay with not having any money. But then on the flip side, or on a similar thing but a little bit different, I've had guys that I met, and I wasn't there with them, but met later on, that before this whole scenario played out, that they were saying, well, yeah, like I've met some prostitutes and I let them live with me, because some of them, let's say, you have a prostitution ring that's like non-military connected. It's like some civilian out there is having these girls work.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do get a cut because they have to pay rent, or they may be living somewhere else, or these girls are doing prostitution on their own.
Yeah.
So they get paid and they have to pay these bills or whatever. Well, they're still jam-packed in a room with each other. So I know some military guys that allowed prostitutes to live with them, and they cleaned the flat, they meal prepped for them, they paid less rent than what they would pay, somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they got one person to a room or two to a room, and they had way more space. It was cleaner, and they since these girls come from such a bad place that they looked at this guy as like, you are so nice. Like, you're not forcing anything on me. Yeah, you're charging me rent, but it's cheaper than what I'd be paying somewhere else. And so they would sleep with them whenever. So, the guys wasn't necessarily paying for prostitution, even though they allow prostitutes to live there. But these girls would do whatever, whenever for them, and they let them stay there. And they made extra money that way.
Well, I mean, the thing with that is
Which they would still get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, you get in tricky territory, right? Because if let's say you're a hooker and you're like, hey, bro, I want to live with you. I'm like, all right, cool. And I ask you what you do, and you're like, oh, I'm, whatever. You give me some bullshit, right? And you live with me. Well, at that point, it's like, I don't actually know. You could have told me fucking anything. But if it ends up coming out, I can still get I can still get hemmed up. But if you do tell me, then it's like,
well, over there, it's kind of hard to say you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point.
The only problem with that, though, is it's one, if the command knows they're a prostitute, or because again, it's hard to hide it over there. So let's say they know or figure out that they're a prostitute. Well, it's kind of hard to say, well, I don't pay for her to sleep with me.
Yeah.
Then the flip side is they find out she's paying rent. Well, you're getting paid by the government to live in that place.
Yeah.
And so you're basically how they look at it is you're committing fraud.
Yeah.
But for some reason it's okay in the States when you're getting BAH, like to charge somebody rent. So it's kind of a weird dynamic, and it's kind of hard to say, well, Chief, I swear I'm not paying her to sleep with me. She just does it for free because she lives here.
She's my girlfriend.
Yeah, but it's like, but she's a prostitute. It's like,
I actually see. Funny enough, I did have a guy out there who got with a fucking prostitute, and like they were on the verge of fucking getting married, and I was like, dude, no.
Oh yeah, I've heard some wild stories of like people, like a ship will pull in, and all the girls know somehow before we know we're pulling in, or not we, because I've never been, but
optics a joke.
Yeah, but they know they're pulling in, and I've heard of like MAs tell me like, yeah, wouldn't you know, like a week after the ship pulls out, some crazy prostitutes out in front of the gate, or just prostitute, because I guess your normal populace or your populace over there, those women aren't just gonna like sleep with an American because they have a husband or whatever. So like, this crazy prostitute's out in front of the gate screaming and throwing shit that like she's pregnant and like, where's the guy at? Because they don't realize like how, I guess, many people are on the base like as a norm. So they think it's just
what were you saying? I feel like the phone rang and I got lost.
Yeah, I got a little bit off track. It's they're telling stories about.
Oh, you're talking about the women coming to the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, like women coming to the gate and yelling like, I'm pregnant, and trying to describe the person to them and refusing to leave the gate until they go get whatever said person to come out and talk to her because they got her pregnant, but now they're off back out at sea doing doing their thing, and they like never know or find out that they got somebody pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So also along with those stories, like I had this. You always hear stories about people going to Australia on the ship, and man, I've heard so many stories. These girls like will rush the pier. They'll like put their number inside of a tennis ball and like chuck that bitch on the ship. So that way you like scoop it up. And when you get off, you fucking give them a call. And like even the girls' fathers are like, here, take my daughter. I want, because apparently over there, I guess like the men treat the women like shit or something. And
yeah, I've been told like Australian men are very like harsh, very physical.
Yeah.
And so some of the women are just sick of it. And I've heard stories from not that long ago to way back in the day of like how things were, and they'd be waiting right at the end of the pier for you.
Yeah.
And but it's like that in a lot of countries. Like people don't realize or talk about. It's as an American going somewhere else. It's very strange, very different. Like I remember being, I don't know, 12, 13 years old and going to Costa Rica, and they were younger, or not younger. They were probably near my age, maybe older. Who knows? Like it's kind of hard to judge age sometimes over there. But I just remember having, here people stare at you, you get weirded out, almost angry. You're like, why are you looking at me?
Yeah.
There, I remember just sitting in the back of a rent-a-car and having some younger looking girl just staring at me, smiling.
Yeah.
And it's how they approach you, and the dynamic of it is way different in other countries. And it's not looked at as weird or strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's a culture thing, and it just depends on where you're at. But
you don't even see them do that to each other. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, they're clearly, but they're not looking at you in a creepy way, like checking you out. They're genuinely nice, and it's almost like a, please save me, or please help me out. In a way, I'm probably describing that pretty bad, but it's just a different look. Like it doesn't creep you out that somebody's looking at you.
Yeah, well, along with that, like the different mentality in different countries, it's weird when you go there because a lot of women kind of see us as visas.
Yeah.
And a lot of the younger guys don't realize this shit, and then they get married and they come back to the States, and then like whatever the limit is, a year, 2 years, fucking whatever it is.
And then they're getting divorced.
I'm out.
Yeah, it depends on where you go. Is it more prominent that you're going to get used or not?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about a lot of South American women doing that because they're taught like, you take care of your husband. This is what you do from a very early age. It seems more like Australia, places like that, Romania.
Yeah, I could see that.
Places like that.
Yeah.
That it's like, I don't care what this dude looks like. They realize I'm super good looking.
Yeah.
So they don't really care if you're a good looking guy, if you're a bad looking guy. Sometimes I'd say they more like when you see them with a guy that you're like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how does that dynamic work? They're more inclined to go for like a bad looking guy and deal with it for a year or two and then be like, gotcha, and leave. Versus, because you don't hear that about like Asian women,
no.
South American women. They don't really do that. It doesn't matter like how bad looking you are, how good looking they are, or vice versa. It's like they just want a better life. They're already taught, regardless if your husband's bad or not, you're gonna take care of them.
Oh yeah.
From their parents or their mom.
Well, I think that's why a lot of why there's a lot of expats that go to like to the Philippines and stuff like that. I mean, Philippines is cheaper and shit as well, but like you see a lot of people, a lot of people in the Navy that end up marrying a Filipino.
Yeah,
And it's like, so one of my neighbors back home, he actually married a Filipino and she came over, and it's just they take care of their husbands. Like, you know.
my dad told me for years when I was younger, he was like, marry a Costa Rican, don't let her watch Oprah or any other sitcom,
Yeah.
and don't make her ever work, and just live like that. I was like, I mean, it sounds bad,
Yeah.
but you have a point. He's like, I'm telling you, let her watch like The View or Oprah. It's gonna screw her up.
Yeah.
He's like, no, let her watch that.
But it's a culture thing though. It's just like, because I guarantee you from this brief conversation between two men, if a woman was listening to this, she'd be like, oh my God, she got all offended. But it's not like we're saying, oh, you need to keep women down, like a woman's place is in the kitchen. No, it's just that like the culture there is just so different.
Yeah, that's what they're taught. And I don't really want to get into it, but like we've kind of lost some of that. But I think America took that too far.
Well, it's funny you say that because I saw an article the other day, and it was talking about this guy who did not give up his seat on was it a bus or a train? I don't remember, some group transportation. He wouldn't give up his seat for a pregnant woman, and they were asking why, and he said, well, everybody's fucking pushing for gender equality. We're at the gender equality extreme, and well, she knew good and well she was going to get pregnant, so that's on her. And I was like, oh fuck, okay.
And that's what I mean. It's kind of like the guys that.
Well, it's not just guys, it's the women too.
No, yeah, and that's what both sides have taken it too far, and so like we had a good thing going,
Yeah,
and you hear at least a lot of older women that I've talked to would talk about how like they were fine with being taken care of.
yeah,
And they were perfectly fine with doing things for their husband, making sure the house and the kids and their quote unquote womanly duties, if you will, where they didn't mind doing them. I've talked to older women that did that and worked and had a very successful career, and they were fine with it. But then you have women nowadays that are like, I'm not doing that at all.
Well, I think some of the issue is, and like the reason that this all kind of got started and the reason it got pushed a little overboard was because you have things like the gender pay gap. Well, some of the gender pay gap, again, some of it is because women typically don't do the manual labor style jobs that we do and stuff like that.
And they don't want to.
Yeah. But when you're working in an office environment or whatever, any environment that you're working in, if a woman is doing the same job and she's doing exactly the same thing as you, there was a pay gap. And so, that became a thing. And then I don't know, but it is taken to the point where like you can't even, as somebody that was raised in the South and that, tries to have manners and things like that. I can't even like hold a door open for someone without them being like, I can do it myself. Well, I was just trying to fucking be nice. I'm not trying to flirt with you. Shit. I just want to open the door and say, here you go.
Well, and that's the weird thing is like, they're like, I can do it myself. But whether she's pregnant or not, when you don't get up and give your seat to a woman, which is what we're taught, most of us in the South are taught, then they have a problem with it. But it's like, well, you didn't want me to open a door for you at the grocery store, so why do I need to get up now? Yeah. And then it's like, oh, typical man being a pig. It's like, no, where's the line at? Like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yep.
But then I better not dare ask you to go get me a cup of water when I'm working outside in the yard, or make me a sandwich, or make me this or get me that. You know, I better not do that. But then I got to open the door for you, or I got to open the car door. You know, so it's like, where is that fine line of like, okay, you feel respected and appreciated, and where's my end of it? And that's where, like,
well, and so like to bring that around, people don't talk about the difference between the culture overseas and the culture in the U.S. So like they always talk about culture shock when you go overseas, but when you come back from deployment or you come back from being stationed overseas for a few years, you get culture shock coming back from overseas because it's an entirely different world, and like you get treated differently. And I mean, it's just everything is different, and it's weird, man. Like,
well, it's weird going state to state.
Yeah.
Because like where we're at, like nobody, and I'm not coming from a point of view where I think I should get this or I expect it. It's just here, nobody gives a damn about military. Like, you're just like everybody else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if you were to go to Texas or Louisiana, even certain parts of Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, like even Arizona, like over there, it's totally different. Like you get whatever you ask for, within reason. Like, you don't have to pay for a lot of things, nothing. Like it is vastly different, and but also, I think it's because here people aren't blind to how military people really are.
Well, this is one of the biggest bases.
Yeah, and in places like Texas and other places in the South, people have this like, it's crazy that you decided to do that.
Yeah.
And put yourself in that position, so you deserve whatever. But I even get pissed around, like, you know, Veterans Day and stuff, hearing people in the military, you know, like, how many places you hit?
Well,
how you know, and then it's like, I've heard people like, well, you know, I had to go get my free whatever.
So
and it's like,
that doesn't bother me, right? Because if they offer it, right? What gets me is when you hear somebody be like, man, fuck that place. They don't even offer a, you know, military discount or a military meal on
that's what
Day.
I'm getting at. Same.
Well, but
yeah, same thing.
Well, not really, because like if the place offers it and they're like, how many did you hit? You know, they offer it. They offer the free meal.
But no, I get it. But I'm getting at the people that are like, I know people that have literally went somewhere, got a free meal, took one bite of it or a couple, and they're like, I know I'm going over here, so I can't eat all this. They will take complete 100% advantage of that. Like, I know people that have printed out lists.
They will abuse it.
Yeah, of like who offers what and where. Like, people will put off getting an oil change, risking breaking their vehicle to be like, I know Veterans Day, I'll go get 50% off for free or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, come on. Like, people don't put that much effort into anything. Yeah. But when Veterans Day rolls around, they're getting stuff done in their car. They're getting new speakers, wheels, whatever, food, movie, this activity, that, like a whole day from sun up to sundown. They have their whole day mapped out of like what to do, where to go.
I mean, it's not like I get it, right?
It's like offered, but they brag. It's like you're bragging about it, you know. And you're like, I've heard people just, I went here just because I knew it was free, and I took one bite of it because I knew we were going to this other restaurant later. But I was just craving it, and I had to have it. And it's like,
that's messed up. Yeah,
and then,
I mean, it's just wasteful.
But then that's where other places are like, we don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then people get mad. Yeah. But it's like, well, you were going there and having half a drink and leaving.
Yeah. Well, like, so for me, I how do I say this without sounding like a fucking jackass? If I think they might have a discount, I want the discount because if they're going to offer it, I want it, right?
Well, yeah.
But like, I feel awkward asking for it. Like sometimes it just gets to the point. Like, so like I might be out to dinner with my wife. She'd be like, "Do you think they do a military discount?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't. You know, it's just like I
don't normally ask. Like if I'm spending a bunch of money at an establishment,
yeah.
I'll ask, like, especially like a store, not necessarily a restaurant, but a store. I'll ask. Most of the time, people ask me, you know, are you military? And I'll say yes.
Yo, I got weirded out the first time that I was approached in civilian clothes and like, hey, are you in the military? Like, the fuck?
Yeah, sometimes it still catches me off guard depending on where I'm at or what I'm doing. I don't know. There's certain times that I don't feel like I deserve extra. You know, like I'm not going to go to Ruth Chris and order 5 steak dinners and be like, hey, you got military discount? You know, because I look at food and cooking differently, like especially high-end places. So places like that, I don't. I also don't. Pause. I got a bad taste in my mouth about it because I knew a guy before I joined who was in the Marine Reserves. And I don't care if somebody was selling farts in a jar.
Yeah.
He gonna ask for a military discount.
Yeah.
He go to the gas station, buy a can of dip. It's like $2 and some change, $3, and he's like, "Y'all got military discount?"
Wow.
And even before I joined, I'm like, "Bro, you're in the reserves. Like you're not even active, dude."
Yeah.
And back then, dip was like $2 and some change a can, $3, and you're like, "You got 10% military discount?" Like, bro, it's 3 cents.
Yeah.
You know, stop it. You know, and so that's where I don't hate on people that do it. I mean, that extreme I do. Yeah. But like people that do it on a regular basis, I don't hate on them. But to me, I know math well enough that if I'm spending $30 at a restaurant, I make enough money. I don't need $3 off. I
mean, yeah, but you know, on the flip side of that,
but like, if I'm going to Lowe's spending $300, $500,
bro, I love the Lowe's military discount.
You know, yeah, but most of the time they ask you.
Yeah.
At least with me, I get asked, but it's just not it's not a habit for me. You know, I'm not worried about a few cents or a few dollars, even though I don't have the most amount of money in the bank. I'm still just not that worried about that.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm making a huge purchase, yeah, I'll ask.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I've been around too many people that are
feel entitled.
Yeah, and it's like you're asking for the most. Like that guy was so bad about it. I gave him a hard time, like I said before. I was even active.
Yeah. Yeah, that entitlement shit, man. Like, I get it. Like we all kind of sacrifice a little bit, you know. But it's just there's nothing that says. Okay, here's the thing. You sign up for the military. The military gives you a paycheck. The military gives you free school. The military pays for your housing. The military does X, Y, Z. Why do you feel entitled that a civilian should give you some free shit?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, and it's like, I've even seen cashiers give him not give him a hard time, but he would like give them a hard time.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And it's like, not bad. He would do it jokingly, but it's like, oh, come on, y'all don't offer nothing. And it's like, bro, move on. Yeah, move on about your day.
I hate like if I ever do ask and they're like, oh no, you know, I'm so sorry. I wish we did. Like we should do that. Yada. I'm like, no.
It's not that serious.
Like I just figured I'd ask, you know.
Yeah, I don't. It's just not a habit of mine. Again, if it is, like, you're probably saving way more money than me.
Yeah.
You know, so good on you, but it's not in my nature, in a habit of mine to ask.
Yeah.
every place I go.
Oh, I definitely don't ask everywhere. It's just like you said, if I'm making a big purchase, but like, yeah, if I'm just going in somewhere to grab something, I'm not gonna ask. Oh, I gotta save that 3 cents.
And that was what
fuck
was
outta here.
funny to me, you know, because I had to ask him, like, how much is it? Like, you know, and he's like, well, it's normally this or this or this. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to save like 3 cents?
Yeah, it's just. I know. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could find some really great like deals and discounts for military. You know, like on my phone plan, I got the military phone plan, and you know, that saves quite a bit of money.
But see, stuff like that to me, that's where it, I guess, not matters, but that's where it's
It
if you're
matters
trying
in the
to
way of
save,
money.
yeah, it's important to, you know, I guess use it then.
Yeah.
I would rather use it there than like when I'm buying a can of dip, like, hey, you give me like 3 cents off. Like, no, you know, like, cause sometimes well, at least for me, like I don't dip regularly, and neither did he really. So it's like, it's not a big enough financial burden to really matter or make a difference in savings. So just save your effort for reoccurring payments, you know, on a regular basis.
Yeah. I man, I use this shit all the time though. We go to Lowe's, we're always doing something, and the Lowe's military discount has saved me thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's that one's good.
Yeah.
For sure. There's been some other places where it's saved me, which sometimes depending on what time of the year, like the Next, you save a ton of money.
Well, the great thing about the Next is it's not taxed.
Well, but then they have like their scratchers.
Oh yeah,
and they have
bro. I got a 50% off one time. Woo! I went ham.
Yeah, one time we got like 50 or 75.
Oh,
but
nice.
they did it to where like you couldn't go back and grab anything else. So like I grabbed like, you know, it was stuff we needed. Some of it we didn't, but it was bigger purchases. And I was like, man, I had a feeling like I should have grabbed that whatever I was thinking about and didn't.
That's when you have your wife just kind of sneak off and then come up behind you like, oh, hey, yeah, I meant to grab that. I grabbed this.
And now they're like buckling down on it because remember before you could like scratch it.
Yep.
And then it's like they didn't care. Like you could come in there with all of them.
Yeah.
Pretty much scratched.
You just have to scratch it
like,
in front of someone.
Yeah. Which I've had still some people, they're like, we're towards the end of it. We haven't handed out as many cards as we thought. So like, you can scratch until you get like a good, you know. So I've had some hookups. But yeah, now they're kind of like buckling down on it because people used to go in there and just would grab a bunch of stuff. They had like no shame, you know, like they grab a bunch of stuff, come up to the counter, get 5% and be like, nope, change my mind, not today.
Yep.
And, you know, but they would still have to mark it as like, we witnessed this 5% be scratched. They decided not to use it. And then they would wait till the next day, go gather all that stuff up again, come up, scratch, like, nope, still not enough. And like, I mean, people play the game.
Hell yeah.
Just
Can
like,
you blame them if you're making big purchases?
Just like, I had still do have a buddy, his wife works for the Next.
Yeah.
He's told me the craziest stories. Because, like, one time I thought they mismarked, like, a Traeger smoker.
Yeah.
You know, I, like, freaking went crazy. And come to find out, it was the price for, like, the cover for the grill.
Trash.
Well, he told me. He's like, where was it at? And I was like, well, it's sitting on, like, the side table thing, you know, that sticks out, the tray. And he's like, you can get the grill for that price. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, they put it on the grill. And it has Traeger in the name. So if you fought with them hard enough, he's like, you could go in there and buy that Traeger grill for like $150, whatever the cost of the cover is. Whoa. Because they sat it on the grill. Like they didn't set it on the box.
Yeah.
Or the stack of boxes that had the covers, they put it on the grill. So from a distance, it looks like the price of that grill is that.
Yeah.
He's like, even though they have that little white sticker on the other side, like, it doesn't matter.
No.
They put the placard on the grill.
Ooh, boy, I'm about to go to the exchange.
And he's told me, he's like, my wife has seen it happen, like,
Yeah.
in person. He's like, sometimes you really got to fight with them, and they're going to be mad as hell, but they put the price on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you can get it for that price.
Oh yeah, I love finding shit like that, man. Because like you find a good deal, good steal like that, bro. You can save a lot of money.
You ever hear Cap's story about Lowe's?
No.
So he has a 0-turn lawnmower, right?
Yeah.
It's like a $4,000 something lawnmower.
Holy shit.
He went in there. They had it marked at like 2,200 and something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, he's got money, so he's like, hell yeah. Like, he knew by looking at all, he was looking at buying a lawnmower. He happened to walk by, it caught his eye, and he was like, what model's that? Looks at it again, and he's like, he goes up there, hey, yeah, this lawnmower, this model, I want it. And they're like, okay. They ring it up. Oh, that'll be 4,000, whatever. And he's like, no. 2,000.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, no, sir, that's marked wrong. He's like, too bad.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, and they're like, at the register at a loss. And he's like, no, I'm buying it for that.
Yep.
Like, that's what
you got it marked as.
yeah, excuse me. Like, that's what the price is. Like, I don't care what it rang up for. You know how they have those like big number flip price tags?
Yeah.
Well, that's what was out in front of it. Well, they called the manager over there. And the manager, like, and he took a picture of the lawnmower with the price tag. Well, before they called the manager, they sent like a runner to like change it or pull the price tag.
Of course they did.
And so the manager walks out and he's like, Cap's like, and like pulls up his phone and is like, no, I just watched them switch that.
Yeah.
It was this price. Bro, the manager fucking lost his shit. Started cussing everybody out. And he's like, give it to him for that price. He was pissed. He didn't get mad at him.
Yeah.
He cussed everybody else out.
Yeah.
It was furious. And he's like, yeah, I don't go to that Lowe's no more.
Yeah, man, I do that same shit. Like if I go to a store and I find some questionable shit, I like take a picture of it and then I'll grab it and go up front and be like, no.
Yeah. So like stuff like that, I totally agree with. You know, like and like I've almost gotten like into really heated arguments with buying vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Because online they have like online prices.
Yeah.
But it advertises that and it doesn't say that it's just an online price.
Yeah, they're working on changing those laws.
Yeah. And well, the one that really comes to mind, I went I love diesel trucks. And there's a place had a really nice diesel truck that I recognized. So I went in there and I was giving them a hard time about it. And I was like, well, I've been told that you can't legally sell this truck here because it doesn't meet the state's requirements.
Yeah.
But it's registered in another state.
Yeah.
And I said, but I can register it in that state. So I was trying to cut a deal. And they were like, no, we can sell it here. I said, how? It doesn't meet the state's laws.
Yeah.
I said, but whatever. I don't care if you can or can't. And then I'm talking numbers with them. And I was like, so it comes with this, right? And they're like, no, we don't cover, Dodge for whatever, like lifetime or whatever their thing was. I said, that's weird. On your website, it says you do. And they're like, no, we don't. It doesn't say that. And I literally clicked on it, went to the posting, scrolled down, and I was like, right there, lifetime powertrain, this, that, and the third. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, we're not honoring that. And I said, okay. I said, that's fine. See y'all later. And it even got up to like pretty high up, like in the manager's level, because I was like, y'all are coming down on the price because I know you technically can't sell this truck. I said, and it says on your website you cover this. And so once it got up high enough in the dealership, he's like, we changing that. And I was like, well, y'all still BSing, so I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because they wanted something ridiculous, like 48, 50 grand for like this 2011, 2012, like Dodge Cummins. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not paying that. And I had like a Tundra, pretty much brand new, that I was trying to just get them to swap, like do a one-for-one swap. And they wasn't having it. And I said, y'all are crazy. Y'all are selling my same vehicle 2 years older for like 42, 46 grand on your lot. I'm giving it to you for payoff, and we're just doing this swap. And you can turn around and sell this truck for more than the older one that's on your lot. And they couldn't like make the numbers make sense in their own head. So I said, well, I'll see y'all later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole buying a vehicle thing right now, it's all jacked up because...
Count me out on that.
Bro, I need one. But, yeah, it is what it is. I kind of miss being overseas, man. You just buy a beater. You just drive the shit out of it.
I thought about doing it anyway. I really did.
I don't know, man. I can't justify it. Like, I'm here. I'm not going overseas again. You know, like, I'm good. Give me something nice.
Yeah, I see from your point of view, but from mine, like, I am in a little bit. And so, you know, I'll have the motorcycle, and I'm not too long, I'll be going over there. So it's like, get rid of the decent payment that I'm making, that I'm going to get rid of anyway, and get something beforehand, to save money.
Shit, I still think you should get one of those one wheels and just cruise around that motherfucker. Those little bitches are quick.
I can't do that here.
They're like $1,200 though.
I'd be tempted to do it over there.
Yeah,
but I can't do that here.
No.
What else?
Hell, I don't know. I'm over here like scrolling Reddit while we're talking, looking for just random bullshit to talk about. You got any good stories that you've had happen while you've been in? You said you've been in fucking forever, so.
Some of them I can't tell. Good stories. Sometimes I forget like certain ones.
Yeah, man, I can't remember shit. I got a horrible memory.
I mean, like what? Like, man, some of them are hard to share.
Yeah.
And some of them, it's like they're hilarious, but you would have to be there or know the people to, I guess, relate or find it as funny.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that they're doing some testing for beards for active duty?
Well, I know it's been a subject on and off talked about.
So I'm part of this Facebook group, and one of the guys in there, he said that they're doing, at his command, they're actually doing testing for, they have like, I don't remember the amount, but they have a handful of sailors that they're allowing to have a beard. And which I mean, to me is kind of retarded because.
Why don't you let all of them do it?
Well, not only that, but like there are already people that have like no shave chits. So why do we
testing?
Yeah, like what? But yeah, he said they're doing some testing and with the potential to allow people to start growing beards. But I mean, you know how the Navy works. They're going to do their testing, and then 5 years later is when they're finally going to be like, oh yeah, you can grow a beard now.
I don't know. I mean, we say that because that definitely is how it used to be in the past.
Yeah.
But like, I was surprised with these new weapons.
Yeah,
because they were like, oh, it's going to be years before we ever see them, and then it's like, oh yeah, we getting them like next month.
Well,
or whatever.
I think that has to do with like contract stuff, though. It's not like just something that the Navy's implementing. That's the DoD was like, yep, we're gonna fucking have this contract with SIG.
Well, yeah, that takes a long time, but even once you hear about it being approved, it still takes a long time for it to come out and be implemented and start to get issued.
Yeah.
And so even the older, like, retired guys were like, you ain't gonna see this gun, in your time in the Navy. And then it was like 2 months later, here it is. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Kim sparking up over there again. North Korea warned he's ready to use his nuclear weapons in potential military conflicts with the United States and South Korea. State media said Thursday as he unleashed fiery... What the hell? Against rivals, he says, are pushing the Korean Peninsula to the brink of war.
If old orange man, Cheeto face, no, if Trump wouldn't have got voted out, I don't think we would have continued. I don't think we would be having problems with him. I don't think that Trump was the best president that we had, but I think that he was the better of the options that we had. But say what you will about him, that motherfucker was a shit talker, and that got really annoying. But when it came to dealing with other people, he got Kim Jong, he got him under control. He was making deals with Russia, he was playing the political game, and then.
Well, and I think that's people's biggest problem with it is he just had this radical idea on certain things.
Yeah.
Which it worked for him in the beginning. What I found interesting though in that whole scenario was that nobody really ever had a problem with Trump. Ever.
No.
And then it's as soon as he became political, people were like, I hate Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then it's well, at what point did you start hating him?
Yeah.
What? I would be curious to know, at what point did he say something that you're I don't know about this?
Yeah.
That's what I find interesting, because it's not people didn't love him, but people didn't hate him. But then all of a sudden, people hated him.
Well, he had his ideologies, and a lot of his ideologies America has shifted away from, and now we're more of a liberal standing, and it's kind of annoying, honestly.
We are, but it's a weird dynamic now, because you have especially post COVID,
in quotations, post.
People have even less respect for each other.
Oh, it's so bad, man. Well, it's because we were fucking sequestered to our homes for so long. I mean, not us, but most people.
But that's what's weird about it, is it's what about that just makes you be fuck everybody else? You see it in traffic, you see it driving, somebody can almost hurt you or cause you harm.
Yeah.
And they're that was your fault.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about, I wish I could remember, but even my dad was telling me stories of run-ins that he had with people that people just bump into you or almost run into you, and they're get out of the way, and so you're excuse me, when before it was a mutual oh, sorry, hey, let me go get around you, and now it's just everybody's an 80-year-old man. It's get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. All I'm imagining is Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, get the fuck off my lawn.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because you even see it in the Navy and how things have changed, and it's something to do with the generation, because you take different people, and just we have
I want to say that, but then I meet a bunch of older people that it's you did not, I know you weren't raised like this. I know you didn't used to act like this.
Yeah.
But why now? Even before the whole COVID thing, like I've opened doors for older women,
Yeah.
and like they just act like you're not even there.
Yeah.
And that's like the wildest thing to me. And I almost like for things like that, I almost get younger females than obviously I'm referring to younger than the elderly that are more appreciative of it.
Yeah.
But it's like people are rude about like each generation is rude or disrespectful in certain aspects.
Yeah.
When before it didn't seem like it was that way. Like you would open a door for a younger girl and it was like she was oblivious to it.
Yeah.
Like and now it's like flipped. Like she realizes, oh, that's a really nice gesture that guy just did. But then the older lady's like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well,
And I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But you're also supposed to say thank you.
yeah. 100%. I don't know, man. Shit's been real weird for a while, and it's like there was this wall, and it just kind of came up overnight. You know, like it just came out of nowhere. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just our culture has shifted so much, and it was such a drastic change in such a short amount of time. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I can't put my finger on like one thing that happened.
Yeah.
But I think too that everybody wants to just blame social media. I do think there is some blame there, but they never really say why. But one thing is, especially with like the communication, is you can talk to somebody online however you want, there's like no repercussion. Well, you do it enough, and then you start doing it in your everyday life, and then you meet the wrong person, and then you're like really shocked because you've gotten away with it for so long without being checked, without any consequence, and then you talk to somebody who I guess was raised like us, or maybe they just don't care about anything. You talk to them that way, and then you find out real quick, like, oh, I can't act like this.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem is, man, like talking, it's you don't get punched in the mouth, like you.
Well, and we started taking that away, and
just a long time ago.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason like some things have went downhill is, you know, a lot of contact and a lot of like people having to live out their consequences went away.
Used to, that was a respectable thing. Like, let's say I offended your wife. Like I said something dirty to your wife or some bullshit like that. If you punched me in the mouth, that was a respectable thing to do.
Yeah, and you almost got praised for it.
Yeah, now it's like, oh, let me record this, and what can we sue you for?
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. Like, you can't sue somebody for even like borderline sexually harassing your wife.
Yeah.
But if I touch you, so much as put my hands on you, even grabbing you up, not physically hitting you, like I would be the one to go to jail unless that cop agrees with me and used his freedom of policing, if he chose to say, this guy ain't at fault. I may have to write you a ticket because I don't have a choice. Yeah. But I'm not going to take you to jail. Well, but most cops are going to take you to jail. Like, it doesn't matter if they smacked your wife on the ass, if they were being a creep, if they said something to them. Like, let's go with the slap ass scenario. Like, if I hit that dude back, I'm probably going to be the one to go to jail. Yeah. And that's what's crazy is like, when as a society do we decide that it's okay for you to give my wife a little love tap, but I beat your face on the ground and I get in trouble.
Yep. Well, and like it really shows because it's bleeding over into the military. So no longer is the military like you join the military, you conform to the military. No, the military is conforming to society. At least in the Navy. And I think that's a big issue, man, because like when you come in, the whole point of going through boot camp or basic training or whatever is to break you down and to build you up so you can be a good soldier, sailor, airman, whatever it is you're being. And no longer, man, like they're relaxing and doing things, and like I think who was it? Was it the CNO? Shit, I can't remember. But he put out like his reading list, and it had like some Marxist propaganda on there. Like we're going down a weird path.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch on that too much because it's going to make things very controversial. But it is, and you and I guess we, not necessarily on the podcast, but we talked about like how some things it's okay to say, well, it's just the military, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that you need to tweak and work on. And but to me, when I join, and still how it just ends up working out for me from place to place is I don't usually get a voice, and I don't usually have a voice until I've been there for a little while and learn how this place works or that place works. When you have other people that they're more junior than me, and they come in and they're just like, that's bullshit. I don't like this.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to do that. And it's like the upper chain of command is like, listens to them who've been in the Navy for a year, and they're like, oh, we should look into doing that. But then, people like me and you give suggestions. They're like, well, I don't know. We can't do it for this. And it's kind of difficult to do that for this reason. But it's like, let Seaman Timmy pipe up and say something 6 months in the Navy. And they're like, well, maybe we are being too hard on them. It's like, what the hell is wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
And that's I don't know. It's almost like you get more respect as a lower pay grade than an upper pay grade. Or the respect nowadays is different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, man. Because like whenever I came in, it was like you do what you're told to do. So if I tell you, hey, take out the trash, it's okay. Whatever rank. Okay, MA1, MA2, MAC, fucking whatever. Okay. Now, if I had a job for you and there was a better way to do it, you might be like, okay, roger that, chief. I'll get it taken care of. However, is it okay if I do it this way because this way is smarter? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But like nowadays, it's like, no, fuck that. Excuse me. I just gave you task directions.
Well, that's what's crazy. And if it gets out of hand to the point where you have to say something to the chief, it's like they look at you and say, well, is it really that big of a deal if you take the trash out? And it's like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing end of shift stuff or I'm doing whatever. Like, sure, I could take the trash out, and they hit you now. It's like they hit you with so do you think you're above taking the trash out?
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
that's just not that.
But also I've done my trash taken out part of my career, Now, if everybody else is busy or if I tasked that whatever person with something, and that's the last thing to do in the day, sure, I'll grab the bag and take it out, no problem. But, it's just a weird... Used to, you would take that to the first class or the chief, and they would be like, they told you what? Like, okay, yeah, tell them stand by tomorrow when they get in. And now it's like, is it that big of a deal you can't do it?
It's not the fucking point, though. Yeah, that kind of shit pisses me off, man, because everyone feels like they're so fucking entitled nowadays. No, motherfucker, you join the military. There is a rank system for a reason. And I think that's because we've gone to this gentler, softer, kinder Navy where it's like, oh, my door's always open and, I think that you should be able to talk to a chief or a first class or whatever and not feel scared. But I also think that you should understand there is rank, there are military issues, and then there are personal issues. And if you feel more comfortable talking to a chief about your personal issues, okay, fine. But when it comes to addressing military issues, like taking out the trash or doing something like that, that should be a do what you're fucking told kind of thing.
Well, I got to put this out. It may be a little too revealing, depending on, how many people listen to this episode, but I don't really care.
I can always edit it out.
But I had a situation where I was friends with somebody, or friendly. It was a female. There was no I guess wrongdoing or rules broken in that relationship. But one day she, for whatever reason, decided that we weren't like hanging out. We wasn't friendly anymore.
Yeah.
Friends. And my off days were changing.
Yeah.
This person, as a third class, thought it was okay to go to the chief and complain to the chief about my off days because she didn't want to work 5 days a week with me.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Woo! Just because of like some petty drama that happened in the friends group.
Yeah.
She decided, I don't like being here 5 days a week with you, so I'm gonna go to the chief and complain.
Whew. You know, back in the day, it used to be the only time you ever saw Chief was if somebody fucked up or if Chief had to come do some training. Other than that, the fucking first classes handled the shit, or the second classes.
Dude, I remember them being like, Chief's coming at guard mount, y'all don't say shit. Like, I remember that disclaimer. CO's coming, he's going to open it up to questions. When he asks, how's everything going? It's going great.
Yep. Yeah.
And now it's like, or they would say, the only person that gets to talk is E5 and above.
Yep.
You know, and now that...
People are getting ballsy nowadays, man. I was reading a story in this group the other day where this guy was saying that he was at a was it a re-enlistment or an award, and the skipper was there with this. He was a junior sailor, I think he was like a third class, and he said, what's your favorite thing about working here? And he said, going home. To the fucking skipper, man.
Wow.
I was like, oh shit.
Well, we may have to edit this out, but I was in a meeting the other day, and the CO and CMC got up and walked out.
Oh shit! Because of something somebody said, or like
the fires there, CDOs,
yeah,
dispatch, like everybody,
yeah,
and the triad was there. Well, they called it for a couple of reasons: to go over everything so everybody was on the same page, and then for watch commanders and CDOs to get on the same page.
yeah.
So we're going back and forth trying to let the CDOs know why they don't necessarily get called right away, or, you know, because they think that we should get a call and we call them.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes all the time. And they don't understand why. And so we were trying to get to understand why. And the XO was playing more of like, let's smooth this over, you know, maybe we could do this, or maybe we could add this other job in. So like after the watch commander notifies the CDO, they're talking to the ops chief, not the watch commander. And he's going back and forth. And we're telling him like how that's not going to work, and how, and in a respectful way, because he's the XO, that, you know, how it should go or how it plays out. And so it was just a bunch of back and forth. And yeah, next thing you know, I'm like saying my 2 cents. And not overstepping, but I'm like real close. Kind of calling some people out, and just nobody else is saying how it is. So I was like, well, somebody has to.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking with the XO in front of everybody, and next thing you know, the CO and CMC's gone. Like, he just left out of the room. And it was because we wasn't getting anywhere. The XO just kept like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And, you know, I told the XO straight to his face, I said, look, we go through training, extra training that we don't deal with on a daily basis. I said, and the CDOs keep saying that they don't know what this call sign is or what this means or what that means. I was like, but they have a radio. So part of their training, shouldn't that be understanding what security's saying? So they're not blowing my phone up. And that's when CO and X are like, or CO, CFC, whoop, stand up and gone.
Yep.
And I was like, oh. And it was like, there was a couple of different things that it was just like, the CDOs, like, because there was one CDO there, like, she just had an attitude and kept on. And there was a couple of things she threw out. And I was like, y'all have a radio, don't y'all? And everybody's like, oh. You know, and then something else happened. And, so it just kept, you know, it's the people on our side were making some comments like, oh, shots fired, you know. And so it turned, I wasn't trying to turn it that way, but you're the CDO's in a very controlled, calm environment.
Yeah.
And so it's like you can't approach that conversation by attacking us and basically being like, well, what else do y'all have to do that you can't call us? You know,
everything.
Yeah, well, and that's what that's kind of what it boiled down to. And so then the XO is just like, in a nice way, it was like, okay, enough from y'all. That looked at us and was like, what can we do to mediate this issue?
Yeah.
But we were like approaching it from like none of us knew really. Out of the people that were there, I think the majority of us didn't know or wasn't thinking about what had happened.
No.
And that's why like all the CDOs had like a chip on their shoulder because they screwed something up.
Well, you know, everybody hates when somebody junior to them has something to say that proves them wrong or that makes them look like the bad guy. That's true for all over the place.
Yeah, well, and they don't. That's why I don't understand like what their training is. Like I understand a little bit more now of what their job requirement is, but even before, like I never understood how are you a CDO effectively, but you don't really know what I have to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, we have to take tours of like the fucking EOC and shit, so you should have to take tours with us and understand our shit.
Yeah, and they were even making comments of like, we don't know what this call sign is for this gate. Well, you should.
Yeah.
You should. And that's why, like, man, our chain of command started making all kinds of comments when I was like, we got to do training for stuff we don't do all the time. So why shouldn't you know what gates we have, what call signs they are? Why can't we put a spot on a watch bill for, like, a call sign for you and your name? You know, and everybody, and that's when like the whole triad was like, oh no. And it was like, which I don't think the CO and CFC disagreed with me. I don't think they walked out because of me.
Well, yeah.
But it was just like, the block is hot. It's time for us to get out of here.
Yeah. Ooh, they're hitting some good points. We don't want to do this.
Yeah, they literally like, I didn't see them because I was, even though they were near the XO, I was just looking right at the XO.
Yeah.
But according to somebody else, like some points were made and they just looked at each other and just stood up and just, they had that look and they got up and left.
Wow.
It was a fun, interesting meeting though. I will say that.
All right, man. Well, it looks like we've got some stuff coming up that we got to go take care of, so we should probably wrap this up. As always, it's great talking, and I don't know, you got anything else to say?
No, see you guys on the next one.
All right. Yeah, always share the episode, reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, email, you fucking whatever, man. And if you want to come on here and tell your story, just reach out and let us know. See you guys.